Move, Ethan. You're blocking the investors. Vanessa shoved my arm away the second I stepped near her table at the Crown Meridian Gala. Brandon Pierce laughed into his bourbon. Careful, man. These seats are for people who actually build something. Vanessa smirked. Relax. He thinks owning a grill and a Costco membership counts as business experience. 3 people at the table laughed. One of them looked at me and asked, So what do you do? Vanessa answered before I could open my mouth. Nothing right now. Ethan's basically retired. Brandon raised his glass. Must be nice living off a VP's salary in downtown Chicago. Vanessa clinked his glass. Trust me, somebody has to pay the mortgage. I looked at her. Interesting. Because the penthouse is in my trust. Her smile twitched for half a second. Brandon leaned forward. Come on, man. Don't make this weird. Vanessa grabbed my sleeve hard. Not tonight. I pulled my arm back. Then stop talking about me like I'm dead. Brandon laughed again. You know what your problem is, Ethan? Guys like you can't handle successful women. Vanessa nodded immediately. Exactly. Then her phone buzzed on the table. I saw the screen light up with one line before she flipped it over. Post-divorce asset review 9:30 a.m. confirmed. I stared at the phone. Vanessa snatched it. Don't start. Start what? I asked. The divorce planning or the asset positioning? Her face hardened instantly. Brandon stood up halfway. Watch your tone. I looked at him. Sit down before somebody thinks you matter here. Vanessa slammed her champagne glass onto the table. You don't get to embarrass me tonight. Embarrass you? I said. You introduced me like I was a failed roommate. She leaned closer. Because you checked out 3 years ago. No, I said. I stopped babysitting executives who think deleting emails erases SEC violations. Brandon froze. Vanessa's head snapped toward me. What the hell are you talking about? I pulled my phone out and placed it on the table between them. One screenshot. Brandon's private number. Vanessa's text underneath it. Move the shares before Monday. Brandon grabbed for the phone. I pulled it back. Easy. Vanessa lowered her voice immediately. Ethan, not here. Funny, I said. That's exactly what your attorney said this afternoon when she called my office by mistake. Vanessa grabbed my wrist hard enough to stop me from pocketing the phone. Delete that. Brandon stood beside her immediately. You illegally access private communications. I laughed once. Private? You sent merger instructions to a company-issued device on a monitored network. Vanessa lowered her voice. You don't understand what you're doing. No, I said. You thought I didn't. Brandon stepped closer. You unemployed for 3 years and suddenly think you're some corporate watchdog? I held up the phone again. You moved $2.4 million through shell vendors in Milwaukee and called it consulting fees. Brandon's face tightened. Vanessa cut in fast. Ethan, stop talking. Or what? I asked. You'll tell your divorce attorney I'm unstable again? The table went dead quiet. One woman slowly pushed her chair back. Vanessa hissed through her teeth. Keep your voice down. Why? You were loud enough 5 minutes ago. Brandon grabbed a champagne bottle from the table and pointed toward the ballroom stage. You need to leave before security gets involved. I looked at him. You really think security works for you? His jaw locked. Vanessa switched instantly. Softer voice. Hand on my chest. Ethan, listen to me. We can still handle this privately. I moved her hand away. That ended when your lawyer tried freezing my accounts at 2:14 this afternoon. Brandon blinked. What accounts? I looked directly at him. Exactly. Then Vanessa's phone buzzed again. This time I read the notification out loud before she could hide it. Board chair requesting immediate response. Vanessa locked her phone screen so fast she almost dropped it. Brandon stepped in front of her. You're done. I looked past him. Tell the board chair you're busy moving fake consulting invoices through Blackridge Holdings. Vanessa grabbed the champagne bottle off the table and shoved it into Brandon's hand. Stop talking to him. Brandon lowered his voice. How much do you actually know? Enough to know your girlfriend used company money to pay for a condo 3 blocks from Navy Pier. Vanessa snapped around. Shut up. A couple at the next table stopped eating and stared straight at us. Brandon leaned closer. You've got no proof. I unlocked my phone again and slid another screenshot across the table. Condo transfer records. Vanessa's signature. Brandon's LLC. Same date as the fake vendor payments. Brandon's face changed instantly. Vanessa snatched the phone. Where did you get this? Your printer, I said. You forgot to clear the wireless queue. Brandon swore under his breath. Vanessa looked at him fast. I told you we should have used the personal account. Wrong sentence. Wrong volume. Brandon immediately turned on her. Why would you say that here? Vanessa slammed the phone down. Because he already knows. Brandon pointed at me. This is blackmail. No, I said. Blackmail happens before the SEC complaint gets filed. Vanessa froze. You filed something? At 6:42 tonight. Brandon grabbed my jacket collar. You son of a bitch. 2 security guards looked over from the ballroom entrance. I peeled his hand off slowly. Careful. Assault charges get ugly during federal investigations. Vanessa stepped between us immediately. Brandon, stop. Then she looked at me. Different tone now. What do you want? You already know. Money? She asked. Control? I shook my head. I want my name off your cleanup plan. Vanessa folded her arms. You can't prove I was part of anything. I reached into my inside pocket and dropped a folded document onto the table beside the champagne bottle. Retainer agreement. Her divorce attorney's letterhead. Notes written across the margin in red ink. Remove Ethan from voting structure before Q4 audit. Brandon stared at the paper. Voting structure? Vanessa grabbed the document too late. I smiled slightly. Yeah. That's the part you two never bothered asking about. Then every TV screen above the ballroom bar suddenly switched to the same breaking headline. Crown Meridian Board announces emergency internal review. Brandon grabbed the remote off the bar counter. Turn that off. Too late. Every screen kept cycling through the same headline beside. Crown Meridian stock ticker dropping 11%. Vanessa pulled me sideways hard. What exactly did you send them? I pulled the folded retainer agreement back off the table. Not this. This was just for fun. Brandon looked ready to swing again. You filed fake evidence. No, I said. I filed accounting records. Vanessa crossed her arms fast. You don't have access to company books. Correct, I said. But your shell company accountant does. Brandon's face strained instantly. Vanessa snapped toward him. You said nobody could trace Blackridge. Brandon fired back immediately. Because your idiot husband wasn't supposed to be digging through vendor audits. I unlocked my phone again and opened another file. Wire transfers. Same $48,000 payment every Friday for 6 months. Same routing number tied to a private account in Naples, Florida. Vanessa lowered her voice. Delete that right now. The board already has it. Brandon pointed at the screen. Those payments were legal consulting fees. I zoomed in on the transfer memo. Beachview Residential Holdings. Vanessa closed her eyes for half a second. Wrong move. Brandon exploded instantly. You put the condo under the wrong company? I told you the trust structure would cover it. Vanessa shot back. Not if you reused the same account, I said. Then Vanessa's phone rang again. This time she answered immediately. Hello? Silence. Then her face changed. What do you mean federal hold? Vanessa pulled the phone away from her ear. They froze the Naples property. Brandon slammed his fist against the table. How? I picked up the champagne bottle he'd been waving around earlier and rolled it slowly across the table. Because somebody used corporate acquisition funds to furnish a 3,400 square foot condo. Vanessa pointed at me immediately. You planted this. No, I said. You just got lazy. Brandon stepped closer again. You think this hurts us? You haven't had real authority in years. I pulled a thin envelope from inside my jacket and dropped it beside the champagne bottle. Brandon opened it first. His face changed instantly. What the hell is this? Vanessa grabbed the papers. Temporary voting transfer. Board. Authorization. Emergency proxy activation. Her voice lowered immediately. You activated your founder rights? Yesterday morning, I said. Brandon laughed once. That won't survive litigation. It already did, I replied. Judge signed the temporary protection order at 4:10 this afternoon. Vanessa looked up sharply. You went to court before this party? You hired a divorce strategist 6 weeks ago. Brandon tried shifting gears fast. Okay. Let's stop acting stupid here. We can settle this quietly. Quietly? I asked. You billed your affair condo as cybersecurity consulting. Vanessa cut in immediately. Brandon, stop talking. Wrong move again. Brandon snapped at her. You're the one who kept putting everything under shared accounts. Vanessa fired right back. Because Ethan never checked anything. I looked at her. That was your biggest mistake. Then her phone buzzed again with another notification. Board access revoked, effective immediately. Vanessa stared at the board access revoked notice like it might disappear if she blinked long enough. Brandon grabbed her phone. Call Martin. Right now. Vanessa dialed immediately. Straight to voicemail. Brandon looked at me. What did you do to the board? Nothing, I said. I just reminded them who controls 31% of Founder's shares. Vanessa slammed the phone onto the table. Those shares were inactive. I shook my head. Protected under a blind trust. You never read the original governance agreement. Brandon swore under his breath. You hid voting control? No, I said. You ignored it because you thought I was checked out. Vanessa crossed her arms. This won't hold once litigation starts. I pulled another document from my jacket and slid it beside the champagne bottle. SEC Preservation Order. Brandon read the first line and immediately stopped talking. Vanessa snatched it away. What is this? It means nobody deletes emails, wipes devices, or moves money anymore. Brandon pointed at me. You recorded private calls too, didn't you? I looked at him. Your mistake was discussing offshore transfers to company Zoom accounts. Vanessa's face tightened. There were no offshore transfers. I unlocked my phone and played 8 seconds of audio. Brandon's voice. Move the Cayman funds before quarter close. Vanessa looked at him instantly. Brandon fired back fast. You said the compliance logs were wiped. They were supposed to be. Vanessa snapped. I took my phone back. That recording auto-uploaded to 3 separate servers 42 minutes ago. Brandon lowered his voice immediately. What do you want? Tonight? I said. Just enough pressure to make both of you start lying to each other. Brandon reached for his phone again. No signal. He looked at Vanessa. Why is legal not answering? Before she could respond, 2 men in dark suits walked into the ballroom carrying company badges and compliance folders. Brandon immediately lowered his voice. Do not talk to them without counsel. One of the men stopped beside our table. Mr. Pierce, your executive credentials have been suspended pending internal review. Vanessa stepped in fast. This is completely inappropriate during a shareholder event. The compliance officer ignored her and slid a paper across the table. Temporary financial restriction notice. Brandon read the first line and swore quietly. You froze my compensation package? I picked up the champagne bottle again and set it upright between us. No. The board froze every executive account tied to the merger. Vanessa looked at me. You planned this before tonight. You planned my divorce before tonight. Brandon shoved the paper back toward the officer. You don't have enough for fraud. The officer opened his folder calmly. Actually, we have vendor duplication, offshore routing, falsified consulting invoices, and unauthorized transfers tied to Blackridge Holdings. Vanessa snapped toward Brandon immediately. You said the vendor records were scrubbed. Brandon fired right back. Because you insisted on using your assistant's login credentials. Vanessa's phone buzzed again. Another notification. Corporate card declined. Brandon saw it too. Tell me you moved the reserve funds. Vanessa didn't answer fast enough. That was all Brandon needed. Brandon took one step away from Vanessa. You told me the reserve account was protected. Vanessa snapped back. Instantly. Because you were supposed to move the funds last week. The compliance officer interrupted both of them. Neither of you will be accessing corporate accounts tonight. Another executive walked past our table without even looking at Vanessa. 10 minutes earlier he'd been calling her the future of the company. Now he acted like she didn't exist. Vanessa grabbed his arm. Tom, say something. He pulled away immediately. Legal told us not to discuss this with you. Brandon looked at his phone again. My attorney still isn't answering. I picked up the champagne bottle one last time and handed it directly to him. Careful. That's probably the only asset left tonight that hasn't been frozen. Brandon slammed it onto the table hard enough to crack the label. This is your fault. He barked at Vanessa. You said Ethan was finished? Vanessa fired back instantly. You're the one who kept pushing the merger before audit clearance. Her phone buzzed again. She looked down and went completely still. Notice of temporary marital asset restraining order. Brandon saw it over her shoulder. You froze personal assets too? I nodded once. Lake house, penthouse, joint accounts, investment lines, all of it. Vanessa stepped closer to me and lowered her voice. You're destroying everything. No, I said. I'm separating myself from it before federal investigators do. Then one of the ballroom TVs switched again. This time it showed Brandon's corporate headshot beside the words Executive Fraud Probe. 3 weeks later, Brandon resigned before the board could terminate him publicly. Crown Meridian filed its own civil action against him for fraudulent transfers and breach of fiduciary duty. Vanessa lost her executive position the same morning. Nobody at the company defended her. Her corporate email was shut down at 8:06 a.m. Her keycard stopped working before lunch. The Naples condo hit the market under court supervision. The penthouse stayed frozen. Joint accounts stayed locked. Brandon tried negotiating through attorneys twice. First offer, silence for reduced liability. Second offer, private settlement. My lawyer rejected both in under 4 minutes. Vanessa called me from a borrowed phone after her personal Amex got declined at a restaurant in River North. You made your point, she said. No, I answered. The auditors did. She lowered her voice. You really want to end 15 years like this? You ended it when you started moving money through fake vendors. Silence. Then she tried one last angle. You still need my signature on the trust restructuring. Not anymore. Another pause. What does that mean? I slid the final document across the conference table to my attorney. Irrevocable voting transfer confirmation. Court approved. Effective immediately. Control of Crown Meridian officially returned to me at 4:32 that afternoon. Vanessa received the notification while standing outside her own locked office.